Here's where wholesaling real estate, and you've read the book Traction. It makes you want to get somebody to outsource your marketing, outsource who's actually getting those deals secured, who's selling the deals. So you might want to go ahead and get all those people right away. But this episode is to say, pump the brakes. Let's give you a sustainable way to actually scale your business. We've got a special guest, Aaron, who's really, really killing it doing new home builds now. He's kind of graduated from wholesaling. And he asked Ryan, when did he hire a transaction coordinator, somebody to help operate the business, somebody to help with the acquisition, somebody to help with the disposition. So the first part of the episode, I loved that Ryan was actually telling his experience about which of those to hire first and how to go about doing that. What did you like about this episode, Ryan?
When we started talking about the transaction coordinator, and I just told him that's the first step to do. At first, he said it wasn't that much work for him, but then he later acknowledged it was a lot of like staying on your email and paying attention to your email while you're out doing other things. And by acknowledging that, realizing, yeah, that would take a little bit off of my plate if I did fill that seat. And so that's, to me, that's the highlight for this specific call, because you want to get the little things that are going to require a lot of attention, and transaction coordinator is one of those things.
Yeah, so this is the podcast for replacing your W-2 income with wholesaling real estate. I'm your co-host, David, helped 10,000 people close their first deal with DealMachine. We got Ryan over here as well, who's a very successful guy, done 450 deals now, 450 wholesale deals.
Yeah, since 2019, we've been at it, and we do about 5 to 10 transactions every month.
So we did an episode with Aaron. We talked about he made $45,000 just for finding a rundown house. And so that was July 19th published, and it was episode 33. So we've done over 200 episodes almost since then. I wanted to recheck in with Aaron, especially because I see Aaron every single week on the podcast live, or masterclass is what we used to call it, always in there attending those calls, answering questions, etc. So just before we hopped on, Ryan, Aaron was telling me that he's got a few virtual assistants, but he's kind of wanting to scale and trying to look for what's the right way to scale up in terms of people, get more things off his plate. So maybe, Ryan, you could tell us, like, what's your team like? Because I know you just hired like a COO actually in the last year. So maybe you could tell us where you were at when you did that, and how that went and what he's doing now.
Yeah. See, I mean, it's always one of those things you do in different stages. I mean, obviously when you're first starting wholesaling, like the first thing you're going to do is get a transaction coordinator, and then start filling seats of acquisition and disposition. And
Well, hold on there now.
Yeah, go ahead.
When do you need to get a transaction coordinator?
Okay, so, and I didn't know how in depth we wanted to go here. So usually for me, if you're doing 3 deals a month, that's probably enough to go ahead and get a transaction coordinator, because that's going to start.
What do they do?
They're going to be the ones that are in charge of sending the contract to the seller, sending the contract to the end buyer, coordinating everything with title. So getting those documents sent to the title coordinator, or the title company, and then coordinating with the seller through the whole process every week, giving them an update of here's where we're at. We're still looking for a buyer, or hey, everything is good, we're ready to close, or in some cases, hey, we're ready to close early. And even if the title company needs help collecting information, they're the ones that are going to the seller and getting data that they need to get the transaction to close timely, which are all things that if you're the one that's doing that, it's taking time away from you to be able to go and find more leads, build connections with new buyers or investors. And that was the first thing I had to get off my plate in order to be able to get a little bit more, between that 5 and 7 deal per month range, was getting that TC. And so from there,
Aaron, do you do that? Do you spend a lot of time doing that?
Not a lot of time. It's normally I spend about 30 minutes to an hour first thing in the morning just knocking that stuff out. But it definitely is the thing that throughout the day you're like working leads and stuff, and those emails come in, it's distracting.
Yeah.
You have to go, do a little thing, fix something, and then come back. And it definitely is more distracting than anything else.
Yeah.
Ryan, is that an in-person person? on your team? They in St. Joseph, Missouri?
They are, but they are 100% virtual. So they do everything. They don't have to be on site to do anything. It's all DocuSign, and she does all the communication through email and phone. So she is local to us, but she could be in a completely different state, and it would have no effect on what she does. So,
Interesting.
yeah. So then the next piece, because then you're still, once you get that transaction coordinator piece off your plate, then you're still tasked with all of the dispo and acquisition plus marketing. So then getting one of those pieces off your plate, and that's honestly much harder because you have to find somebody that's got good skill sets that can do sales, and that has good relationship skills in terms of communications with buyers and sellers. And we've filtered so many people through in and out and in and out, and we finally have somebody that does acquisitions and dispositions, because they're just that good, and our team is small enough and our market's small enough that it's manageable. But getting that, once you're rolling a bunch of appointments, like knowing, okay, if I have 6 appointments today, then you don't have time to call and find buyers for those properties that you already have under contract. So having somebody that's able to help on the back end of that would be kind of the next thing. And then eventually, if you're like me, you have a family and you're spending just a ton of time working in the business, which is not exactly what I envisioned. That's when you start going down finding an operator. But even finding an operator, COO, you kind of have to prepare yourself to pay a decent price tag for that position. And that I wasn't like not willing to do that, but it was just a little bit of a shift in terms of, like, Megan and I were so used to making all the money on those deals outside of what commission we paid for dispo, acquisition, and the TC. We would take home the rest, and shifting to not taking that and having an operator that's running the business. But the exchange is, I have a ton of time to focus on my own portfolio. I have a ton of time to focus on building other aspects of the business, which in turn help make more money.
So the transaction coordinating was kind of the lowest, easiest task. You kind of decided to offload that first, and then you paid them like a salary, right?
Yeah, it's not salary based. It's per transaction based for us. They get $325 per deal closed. So if we do 10 deals, they make a nice paycheck. And if we do 5 deals, they make a little bit less.
Nice.
But
So
it's
they're like
based
kind of
on
part
how much
time.
you're doing. Yeah. Yep.
They're not like dedicated to you full time.
Nope.
Do they do other transactions for other people too, or is it just for you?
She only does it for us, and then she has an accounting business on the side that she does small accounting tasks for other businesses. So it works for her schedule to have just doing this on the part-time side. We don't have the deal volume to keep her busy, and that's why hiring somebody full-time and paying them a salary wouldn't make any sense, because there may be times in a month, October and January are July and January are the 2 months every year you might get 1 deal, you might get 0 deals. So those are the tough months. Paying a salary during those months would be unfavorable for us. So it just gives her the freedom and flexibility, but she does a great job at monitoring emails and follow-ups. So it worked. But there's so many. We've done a podcast with a guy that offered TC coordinating across the country, and there's so many options that if you can just find one person and keep them interested in what you're doing and make sure they're trained well, doing it like that is the easiest way.
Where did you find?
It's actually Clint, our COO. It's actually his cousin. And so that makes it a little easier too, because it's somebody that he knows, and he does all of the communicating with her. So
Nice. So you didn't post a job?
no, we were prepared to look for a VA though. Like that was actually the first process, is we were going to hire a VA to do this, and then just so happened, Clint was like, I actually know somebody that might do it that is here local, and I trust them. So that was one of those moments I had to let Clint make the decision. I'm like, okay, you go and do you.
All right. So where should Aaron go look for somebody like this if he was going to hire? Or Aaron, where do you think you'd want to go look? I post all my stuff on Indeed, by the way, for any type of position.
I think I'd probably ask around. I've got a good circle of investors that I connect with. Probably see what they're doing.
Riva
Yeah.
Global has a TC position for their virtual assistants. That's a good option. I know Christina Aguilera has a TC business that she helps find you a TC and trains the TC. In fact, that was the first transaction coordinator we had. That came from her. So there's a few options out there that are cost effective.
Now, Aaron, when you hear this, was there any other type of position you were hoping to actually get off your plate besides the transaction coordinating?
No, I think that would free up a lot of the distraction, busy work that takes away from actually finding leads and talking to people and running appointments. That'd probably be a good first step. And then finding somebody that if I'm tied up or can't run an appointment that they could step in and do that as well. But finding the TC, I think that'd be a good first step.
Okay, got it.
Chances are that TC stuff is not something you find interest in doing. You find interest in going on appointments, negotiating, and locking up good deals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm filling out DocuSign stuff this morning. I mean, this is mind numbing. Like clicking through all the stuff and templating it out. I'm like, this is
you
ridiculous.
have the freedom to do what you want, and that's not something you want to do. So get it off your plate.
Yeah. I just see the check at the end. I'm like, it's worth it. I just keep clicking through it.
Yeah.
What if Aaron finds interest in relaxing at the beach?
Then he needs to set himself up to be able to relax.
I'll be the TC. I'll be the TC at the beach, right?
There you
for
go.
everyone else.
There you go. But you're going to be on the beach answering a bunch of emails.
Yeah, it's great.
So, Aaron, catch us up. It's been over a year since we had you on the podcast. So, in 2024, what was maybe a highlight or some things you're proud of that you accomplished?
This year it's been a big year. I've got probably two of the biggest projects I've ever done. One of them we're almost sold out. The other one we just started last month.
What do you mean? What are the projects?
So it's actually because you texted me and you said I want 3 points. So actually, point number 3, we'll start there. Was in this market to keep following up. So I went back after you texted me and looked at these two deals when I added them into DealMachine when the seller called me. So I've got these two projects. The Azalea project. I added this house in October of 2019. Was driving around, running another appointment, drove past this house. It was run down, massive lot. And I was like, oh, this is an opportunity. Follow up, mail. The seller's brother calls me July 2023. So 3.5 years later, almost.
Yeah.
We go back and forth. We end up closing on it October 2023. Large lot, old brick house, beautiful brick house, but it was just too far gone. So we came in. I was able to scrape the house, subdivide the lot into 6 lots, sold a section to the neighbor, sold 2 lots to a business partner of mine, and I kept 3. We built 5 houses on there. I've sold out 1. I've got 2 more pending. My partner sold out 2. I'll make probably a little over 300,000 on that. He'll make around over 200. It's and all from just following up with this lady. Like mail would expire, I would start it over again, and then like sticking through even after they called. It took a lot with the city, zoning, and figuring it all out, but just staying consistent with it. Fixing problems. It's gonna be a massive payout.
How did you get the money to go buy that and then build houses on it? Because you started out, our first episode was about wholesaling, where you got paid for finding the deal, passing it off, making that finder's fee. So now you've graduated and you're doing more in-depth real estate type transactions. So how did that work out? Did you borrow money or did you have the money built up from just your own wholesaling?
So for that one, I was a little nervous on that one. I'm like, I'm not going to take down all 5 houses. So I was like, if I take down, I have cash saved up that I can buy the land for the 3. I sell off the other 2, which offset my acquisition cost, and then I went to private money for the construction costs and coordinated all that. So I funded the land and then had private money for the build out.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah, I like to use my own money too for a takedown if possible because it just makes the deal like more relaxed. It doesn't have as tight of a deadline to get it done because I don't have that short-term financing over my head that I need to hit these certain benchmarks for. Maybe I should do that because then I would just tighten up my own rehab process or building process. But okay, that's cool. Tell us what the other 2 points were.
So the other 2 points, also, I actually have another project off of that one too. The lead came in January 6th, 2022. No, sorry, I added it in 2022. Over a year later, 2023, the seller reaches out. And then 2023, following up, this is January 16th, 23, followed up over a year. We didn't close that till May 24th, 2024. So over a year of back and forth and following, and she gets sick and she's in and out of the hospital. Finally made that one happen, split it, and we're gonna build 4 houses on that one. Uh, I'm gonna end up keeping these as rentals. So I
Nice.
paid my own cash for the land, brought in private money for the build out. If we were to sell out all of them, it'd be over 400,000 in profit, but we're gonna keep them, get long-term debt on them, rent them out. The goal is to eventually pay them off and have no debt on them. But right off the bat, it'll be around 8,000 total in cash flow and over 500,000 in equity.
Wow. 8,000 in cash flow and how much? 500,000 in equity?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Those are great deals.
Yeah. But all from like over a year of just staying consistent. She
Well,
would go
3 years,
silent for
right?
weeks. Yeah, on all, yeah, together, yeah. But it's just like it gets so mundane, the task in your CRM is like, all right, follow up again. It's like another voicemail, another
Yeah.
text, but people reach out and they're like, all right, I'm ready to go now. I'm like, well, it's been 6 months, but
Right.
pays off.
Well, a great lesson. And I know people, they want to, hear this podcast. They want to get their first deal right away, which they can do. But it just shows the reward of staying consistent and how to actually be more successful than 99% of the other people trying to do wholesaling real estate is just keep doing the basic stuff that you need to do, which is have conversations. And in your case, follow up until they're ready to have the conversation. That's cool. Were there any other point? Was that the third point combined, and then you have 2 other things you wanted to mention?
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely felt the market be a little weird. So one
Yeah,
of the points was getting creative. It's people sell the typical wholesale, find the deal, find the buyer, you just make a quick 10, 20,000. We've had to become more creative on stuff, finding private money, wholetailing. So, if the numbers don't work, because a lot of the guys that I'm selling to on the wholesale side are like, hey, we got to be buying deeper just to mitigate the risk on the sale price, which is then pushing my number down. I'm like, I can't even make this work. But there's so many, just retail buyers out there still that will jump on all these properties that are, you know, you can get them financed with a bank easily. They just need a little bit of cosmetic work. So we've been taking down a few houses, just going in, doing a deep cleaning, fixing any minor things that a bank would need to be done, and then just throwing them on the MLS.
got it.
Granted, it takes a little bit longer. You got to get that private money and stuff, but it's still, instead of just being, all right, it's not a deal, move on. We're trying to make the deals work.
So, in order to throw them on the MLS, are you an agent? Or are you hiring an agent to list those?
I am an agent, so I just list them myself, but I mean, it's easy to find an agent to do that for you. Like we did one down in Charlotte that we're going to close on next week. Went in, it was a lead from a lady passed away and her daughter reached out. We walked the house and I was like, this house is like, it's dated, but it's like in perfect condition. Not perfect, whatever. It's dated, but like it's market ready. Like I always, because I'm an agent, I have to be like, play both sides of it. Like we could list this for you, and you can make this much. And she was like, no, I just want to be done. So I'm like, well, here's my cash price. Here's the price that we could list it at. And this is what you make. She just wanted to be done with the cash price. So I was like, all right. So we'll take that down. I'm partnering with a guy. He's pulling his home equity line of credit to fund it. And then we'll clean it out and just throw it back on the market.
Okay, got it. Nice. So was there a final point as well that you wanted to mention?
Oh, the final point. I'm reading. Have you guys read The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham?
No, actually. I've heard of the book, but I
Very good
haven't read
book.
it.
Very good book.
Sounds like you might
My
have had some
point,
takeaways.
it's nice because there's short chapters and they're all like very good business points. But one of his points was plan, but stay flexible. He said rigid plans can break under pressure. He said have a strategy, but be ready to pivot when needed. Business landscapes change and your strategies should too. So I always have like, I'm going to stick to my plan and my strategies, but we've come across a couple of properties this year where it's like, I bought this duplex around here and I'm like, oh man, duplex, love it, clean it up, rent it. You get into it and it's like, oh man, you know what? This is not working out, So it's like pivot. I should have pivoted sooner, but I was like stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to stick it through. We're going to keep dumping money into this thing, and it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, this is just going to be a money pit, even if I rent it out, in the neighborhood and the condition it was in. So it's having a plan, but staying flexible to be like, you know what? No, we need to pivot and move on to the next thing.
Got it. So was that having to do with the market, or was that just a deal that ended up costing you more to fix up than you thought?
It was a deal that it was costing me more than I was expecting. And I wasn't as specific on my, like, I want rentals, but I went outside of my vein of like an older rental that needed a little bit more work. And I was like, oh, but it's a duplex, and it cash flows. And I shouldn't have done that. So I got flexible, pivoted. We didn't lose money on it. We made a little bit of money, but it was
Got it.
4 months of a headache that could have been avoided.
Got it. Okay, cool. Well, those are 3 great takeaways, and congrats again on that land, especially that you were able to build 5 houses on. That was pretty one that stood out to me. That's pretty badass. And I liked how you took it down, and then you kind of, would you sell 2 or 3 to cover your acquisition cost? And then when you sold the final 2 or 3, that was just kind of gravy. That was where the profit was. That's badass. Where do you want to go from here for the rest of the year? You got about 4 months left.
I've got a couple more projects in the pipeline. A bunch of problem properties. We're just kind of chipping away at them, making do what we can.
What do you mean? Oh, those are in your pipeline. You don't own those, but you're just trying to
it's just
buy
stuff.
those.
It's like it's the stuff that nobody wants to deal with, messy surveys and stuff that just takes weeks of going back and forth with the city. And everybody paints, there's the easy fruit. I mean, you get the deals that come in and it's like in and out easy, and then there's stuff that's like, all right, this takes a month or 2 or 3 to hash through, but you got to do it.
Got it. Any other challenges or places you want to get to? Like, we kind of started the conversation with wanting to get some stuff off your plate, scale, have somebody come in and do some other things in your business, so you don't have to do everything.
I think that's about it. It's mainly just freeing up some more time for me to focus on the actual money making activities.
Yep.
I've opened up a few more markets in North Carolina towards the beach and stuff, and I got a couple of deals we're working out there. So it's nice to see when I have a system and okay, this group of lists and leads or this type of leads works, and you can just kind of copy and paste it to another market, and it's cool to see it. All right, we've got the system dialed in and it's working, and you can kind of implement it somewhere else, which is cool.
Well, cool. Thanks for jumping on the podcast with us. It was great to catch up, especially since that first one was all about wholesaling, and now you've graduated to doing deals where you can make even more money. So that was pretty fun for me to see, and also have the conversation about scaling. So have you been posting on social media? Should I send people somewhere where if they want to follow you?
Yeah, you can go. I'm on Instagram. I've been trying to spend less time on social media. I do my monthly updates, It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
So it's a time suck, but it's like necessary in this day and age. So yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram.
Aaron Swart. That's where they can find you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.